Carrier checks is the key, innovating the process, can't you see? With the platform so smooth, keeps the workflow tight, efficiency and value, that's every single night. Risk profiles, they got 'em, man, it's no joke. North America's the stage and they never choke. Metrics on point, updated without fail. Chameleon carriers, they're on the trail. Don't play with unsafe companies, don't be that guy. eCarrierChecks, keeping it safe under the sky. 40 plus filters with the search that can drive carrier information in the FMCSA archive. Find your carrier with precision and needs. Location, equipment, feeds. They got the keys. FTL shipper leads. They're right there for you. Real-time authorities, what they do. Crazy, breezy, ultimates. The dashboards away. Freedom from low boards. They got it every day. eCarrierChecks, the architect leading the way.
Good morning. Welcome to the eCarrierCheck show. I'm excited. We have probably one of my favorite people on, DIY Semis on, and I am jacked to talk about just life here, man. The trucking industry is an interesting industry. You get to Friday and sometimes you're just like, woo!
Where'd the week go?
Woo! You just want to wring out your socks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm excited. I get to talk to two of my favorite people, Nate. DIY, what's up, brother? How's the life?
Man, I tell you what, best thing about Friday is that intro. I didn't have any caffeine this morning. I was just telling you that. I got to get my mind right. Got to get jacked up here. I don't need that. That intro did it. I'm like, and then I'm like, wow, this is exciting, all pumped up. And then I'm like, man, I feel like crap because my intros aren't like that. I got to step up my intro game.
That's funny. You know who else has some pretty good intros? The Logistics Lounge fellows. They got some good stuff going on. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, I did their show a couple weeks ago. Had a good time. So thanks for.
Yeah, it was a good one to watch. Entertaining.
Those guys are.
It got a little out of hand at the end. I'll say that, but.
I love it though. We need it.
I'm not surprised. We talk about trucking a lot. We obviously, Jerome Jones, what's up, brother? Best no inspection carrier I've ever met in my life. I love this guy. He's my favorite. Anybody that can give him an inspection, let's just throw him one. I feel like we should send out like an eCarrierCheck inspection. We just send it to people and it's just a paper.
Yeah.
Here's your first inspection. Adam, I got to ask you a question. Why do we do this? Trucking's such an interesting game. Brokering such an interesting game. Even logistics software is an interesting game. We're all in the same space. We're all at the same picnic, pulling out the same bread, using the same mail. And
we're just a little bit too stubborn or too stupid to quit.
I'd agree.
I would agree.
And plus, I'm not really qualified to do anything else, so I guess I'm kind of stuck with this. Gotta eat somehow, right?
Still no inspection. I love that. Jerome's going. How's the week in trucking? Like, what are you seeing from the ground floor of load boards to clients to even moods? I think the next 30 days with the election coming up, this is almost like it's a full moon every day, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's what it feels like.
It's just absolutely crazy. Every day is just utter chaos of kind of the usual things, just more of it. Everything's just been a struggle. Booking loads and staying on loads and keeping loads and, the usual fraud situations. And it's just been a struggle lately, everything. And it's just noisy and busy with little time for anything else. And then if you got anything, personal life going on, it's just all it's a struggle. It's busy. Like you said, it's noisy. And it makes you have some thoughts sometimes, like you said, of why am I doing this? What are we in this for? But what else am I going to do? I mean, really, look at me. Take a good look at this, and you tell me what the hell else I'm going to do with this face.
I got a face for trucking. That's what they say for me.
OnlyFans is still an option, man. People are getting into it.
It is.
But really.
So you mentioned load boards. This has been happening for a while, but even yesterday I got another email from a major brokerage. I can say they're a large trucking company with a sizable brokerage, and they said, "Hey, due to the substantial cost increases from DAT. Here's a link to our, Insight website where we post all our loads, and you're going to see us shortly here phase completely off of DAT. DAT denies that that's happening. There we go. But it's happening. A buddy of mine questioned them on their live stream one day. Hey, how are you guys handling this with brokers pulling away from your platform and coming up with their own? And they said, well, it's not happening. It is happening, and especially after these recent rate increases, it's going to continue to happen. Robinson is mostly off the load board. What's this? Arrive Logistics. Now this one. So you're going to see a lot more of that, and I can't wait for it personally. Most of the fraud comes from the load boards.
Yeah.
You get rid of the load boards, you're getting rid of a lot of the fraud. Now, they'll find a way still, but that's a big step. That's big news.
It's interesting. C.H. Robinson came out with they had a board when I was working for the trucking company. We'd get loads off their board, and you just never questioned it. You had I know this was before double brokering, but you just knew, okay, C.H. Robinson, they're not going to pay me much, but at least they'll get me home. And they pay their bills. I don't really have to argue. Let's just get it done, And it's so interesting to say that, but I think a lot of people, a lot of larger brokers, are just going down this direction of dealing with that. I saw something too the other day, and I wanted to get your insight on this, Adam. Is there was a couple loads booked with some software where literally it was a robot from start to finish. They booked the freight, they negotiated the freight, they told the carrier about the freight. Start to finish, you're talking to a robot to get a load.
Really?
How does that sound or feel to you?
It doesn't feel right. And in a lot of industries, that may be more practical. In trucking, you're dealing with so many unknowns, unpredictables, human error, human emotion, fatigue, regulation. How does a computer know if you're going to be held in a dock for 20 minutes or 11 hours, right? The computer doesn't know any of that. So I'm sure an AI can come up with a predictive software of this customer's dwell times in docks, but does a computer know what you did for your last load, right? So I'm sure AI will probably eventually figure a lot of that out, but it still doesn't feel right because you're dealing with people. People are the unknown, right? It's the biggest unknown. You can't control what other people do.
Yeah, I think about, my kids and I were sitting around the table, and we have different themes around the dinner table. I could write a book about the dinner table at my house. And the other night I said, what do you think is going to be different in 100 years from today, right? And
what's going to be the same would be a shorter answer.
That's kind of where I was going with this. It was kind of interesting. I actually, when we got through all the randomness that my kids think that YouTube is, that's a whole nother kettle of fish for 10 and 13-year-olds. But I said, what do you think will be the same? And Hudson said, well, hopefully we're still sitting around the table. And it was just an interesting comment from a 10-year-old going, hopefully we're still sitting around the table, because I think if you don't keep the human element into this industry, boy, I think it's just robots talking to robots all day.
Well, and if we get to that point too, I think that, tech needs to do a better job at talking with carriers and getting their feedback, because, it's like they're the ones that are going to be dealing with that on the other side of the phone. And, I understand we're trying to make life easier, but we got to understand where the carriers are coming from too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe that's going to come full circle one day, with AI and all this pricing data and stuff and automation in the freight industry right now. There's going to come a time where some people are going to become tired of that, and they're going to want to come back to personal relationships and having a person accountable and all that. And I'm ready for it. That's the route I'm going, because somehow, somewhere, somebody will want that. You always want to be that person that they want next. And right now, the thing they want next is automation and technology. Well, someday they're going to want people again too. And you know what? Most people aren't going to be capable of that. They're going to build their businesses this other way. They're not going to know the old way of doing things. And, people like us will be here to fill that gap.
I hope so. I hope somebody watches this show 100 years from now on YouTube.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, who are those three?"
It'll be on a chip implanted in their brain.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Obviously, I do think, I'm hoping, here's what I'm hoping for is November 7th, gets over, the waters calm down, we quit having hurricanes sent by our political powers. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Not much.
I'm just kidding. But I'm hoping that I'm hoping that things start to just see some calmness, right? And for carriers that are watching, for brokers that are watching, dispatchers that are watching, these next 3 weeks are really what kind of just, you can go friggin' crazy, but how do we keep our minds in the right element, or how do we just kind of keep marching? How do we deal with some of this craziness? What are your thoughts in the next window of trying to get to November 7th? I feel like that's a really big key.
Yeah, people just got to understand most of what's going on right now is noise. Is it important? Of course it's important. But you're going to hear a whole bunch of things from everybody involved that aren't true or exaggerated or just made to make you feel a certain way to get your support. And most of it's just noise. When it's all said and done, we're all still going to be here. Would things be different? Possibly. But you just have to, go about your business how you built it. One thing you alluded to a little bit ago that I discovered yesterday, as a matter of fact, because I like to do this every so often. I had a driver here and we were talking about credit, and there's no economy. There's a lot of, or no surprise or secret, there's a lot of things going on in the economy right now. I just kind of discovered something under the radar yesterday. I haven't seen people talking about yet, but I went through my credit checking service and I started credit checking a bunch of very well-known brokers. Credit ratings are going down, folks. You need to start watching your favorite brokerages, and if it's carriers, then carriers. Keep an eye out on your favorite everybody, because credit ratings are going down, and I'm starting to see a lot of 91 plus days to pay, a lot of past due freight, a high percentage of past due loads, and one thing I can see on there is the trend, their payment trend. Right dead center on that radar is business as usual. Anything to the right is they're trending they're in a recovery direction, and maybe they had some problems and they're trending back in the right direction. Anything to the left of center is trending in the wrong direction, and I'm starting to see them a lot of down in that red zone there. And then I look at the graph on their days to pay, and it's just a straight down slide arrow. So that credit situation might come to the surface here pretty soon. So everybody watch how much the credit you're extending to people and how much business you got on the books with them.
Yeah, it looks like Snorlord. Yeah, we lost a few brokers due to credit changes.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I'd be interested to know, Adam, from your side of it, for the brokers that are watching, when you're checking credit, are you just going back through your factoring company? Are you going back through, how are you looking them up, or what ways are you looking it up?
Well, I don't have a factoring company. Okay. And then DAT, the credit ratings on DAT are absolute joke. They're not even close to reality. So don't anybody rely on that. I've done videos. I subscribe to something called Credit Safe. It's one of the largest global credit rating agencies. They're global, and it's a in-depth breakdown of it's really in the dirt, in the numbers. And I think I may have talked to you guys about it. It's a good credit check. It's not Ansonia. They don't get their information from Ansonia, so it's out of the industry. Okay, so it's not just trucking. It's anything. Like if I want to check J.C. Penney, I can go check the credit of J.C. Penney or Citibank, and you can go below the surface and look up the company officers and the owners, so you can go pretty deep. But yeah, it's time to start, because we've had a financial situation in this country for a while, but it takes time for different things to surface. Your student loans, your mortgages, commercial credit. Well, credit is, interest rates have been high for a long time. It's been hard for businesses to borrow money. It's been harder for people to pay their bills. These things take a while to trickle down in a market, and we may be coming to that point. Or if we get some kind of something happens here, we may get a strong reversal. If interest rates continue to cut down, it makes it more affordable for businesses to borrow money. They can soften up a little bit and have an easier time paying their bills. Maybe consumer confidence goes up and people start spending. I don't know. A number of things can happen either way, but I'm just saying, just be careful. And check if you're using a factoring company. And I've said this for a few months. You need to check out the credit worthiness of your factoring company.
Mm.
And
There's an interesting comment.
Yeah, because there's some that have been struggling, and these different credit rating agencies. I don't know about this Ansonia and where they derive their information and everything, but I don't know. It's time for some different resources.
Cheap Freight Hauler says, tell us about those unfactored invoices. When we were a carrier, we never factored as well. I don't know.
He's trying to trigger me.
That's okay.
I'm just saying there was an incident one time where somebody triggered me, and I screamed about it.
I figured there was something there. I was like, well, usually you just keep up with AP and AR, and you just kind of work through them. But I wanted to verify what he was trying to do. He's down there. I saw somebody said they had lumber tarps on their roof. Yeah. That is wild. Right. Yeah. Just throw some 8-foot tarps over your friggin' house and just go. You know what I mean? Like, I feel terrible for you.
Yeah, I saw some people strapping down their roof too.
I mean, that too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel so bad. But yeah, I'm a cheap freight hauler again. It's grow in the bad times, hoard cash during the good times for sure. Like, sometimes we get spend happy when the things are going good, and you can't take that for granted.
Capital management is more important than ever in a time like this.
Yeah. Adam, a lot of carriers, we watch the numbers pretty much weekly, how many carriers are going in and out. This was a plus week, but a majority of the last 26 weeks have been negative weeks, where a lot more carriers are going out. But you don't hear about factoring companies going out, or you don't hear about their credit going down. But they've got to be pretty heavily involved in a lot of that situation. From your side of it, have you heard or seen anything from factoring companies that have actually gone out or?
So I have a couple of friends that use them both on the brokerage side and on the carrier side, and factoring companies are caught squarely in the middle of fraud. They can get defrauded, badly too. If a carrier turns in a phony invoice, and if they don't follow up and verify that invoice, by the time they got 20, 30,000 in receivables with them, that carrier has got their money and can ghost them before they can charge them back. And then a lot of carriers are finding out that factoring is maybe not necessarily everything they thought it was. This goes back to the unfactored receivables trigger warning there, that somebody thought if I would just factor, I wouldn't have to worry about any of that. Everything would be okay. Well, a lot of people may be under the, misunderstanding that if you factor that invoice and the customer doesn't pay, or the broker doesn't pay your factoring company, you do owe that money back to the factoring company. It maybe just hasn't happened to you yet, but it's starting to happen to people. And then, they're broke, they don't have the money, or, come to find out, oh, I didn't know it worked that way. Or, even if you have non-recourse factoring, there is some stipulations where you can still be charged back for that money in certain situations. Now, that's different with every factoring company. And there are some that are true in every circumstance, non-recourse, but then that's expensive factoring.
Boy, that's an interesting comment. We had a carrier that we did a one-on-one with last week, and he was talking about the contract he signed with his factoring company. And he even said, he goes, if I'd have had a lawyer explain this to me in kind of layman's terms, I probably wouldn't have signed this agreement.
Yeah.
And it was
how many people actually read that,
Yeah. And he was like, I shouldn't have done this. He goes, I'm stuck with these guys for, I can't remember how many, it was another couple of years. And I was like, eesh, and he had no way of getting out of it. It's just what it was, unless he went out of business.
And there's a big difference in factoring companies. There's just like during COVID with all the carriers and brokerages popping up, there's a lot of factoring companies that pop it up, right? And you're dealing with factoring companies that are largely unregulated. And I always tell people, if you're going to use a factoring company, at minimum. There's several of them out there. I use one that's owned by a bank because at least they're regulated. You know, if you go to somewhere else and I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
They can make away with your money. They can. Yeah. They don't have, you know, I don't know if factoring companies are regulated by SIPC or what, but and you know, with all these banks that failed, you don't get any protection from that either. Well, in those bank failures in the last 2 years, people got their money. Okay, eventually the people got their money because FDIC insured. Is it still a bunch of nonsense that went on? Absolutely. But then in the end, they got their money, and people can make off with your money. Business is hard enough. You don't need somebody. It's hard enough to make that money. You really need somebody taking it from you, right?
Yeah. You know, for those of you that don't know, you know, what percentages are factoring companies actually getting that you've seen, Adam?
The best deals I've seen are 1%, and that's if you generally have like 100 trucks or something like that. All the way up to, I think the highest ones I've seen are like 4.5% for some different non-recourse ones. I'm sure there's ones that are higher than that. I heard somebody tell me one time he was paying like 8%. I'm like, whoa, dude, we gotta get you a better deal because that's highway robbery.
Yeah. How hard is it to get out of that agreement? Is it tough?
It depends. There's ones out there that will let you factor at random.
Okay.
You know, different invoices, and then some of them will lock you into a 2-year contract.
Okay.
Some of them can be pretty hard to get out of. Yeah, absolutely. Read what you're signing up for. Definitely.
Yeah, we were on a podcast with the gal. I think you sent her over actually, Adam, and they're a factoring company. Seemed pretty legit.
Yeah.
Company there. Just because you can kind of come and go as you please is what the way she made it sound. So I thought that was interesting to chat with her.
Yeah, I love that she spoke Spanish. She's bilingual. So
yeah, that was
nice value.
They cater to a certain sector of the market, to people that are mostly new to the industry, and then on top of that, a lot of them are new to the country. They really try to work with those people and help them out. So, yeah, she's a nice lady. I was on her show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversation. It was fun.
Go
ahead.
Can I ask you? You made a comment about the statistics of carriers falling off here, the downward trend. I've been looking to find that number for a while. Where do you find that statistic at?
Well, we keep track of it on eCarrierCheck.
Okay.
And so we just update it. It's updated every week. And essentially what we're going by is trucking companies that go inactive. And so we're able to see, you know, trucking company. We don't really keep track of brokering, but we do keep track of trucks and what they're doing as far as going inactive. And so we have, you know, 100 gremlins in the back of our programmer, and he's just like one. No, but I mean, it's actually just something that we put out every week. It's right on our dashboard. And like I said, I mean, honestly, we've seen, I'd say at least the last half a year, 6 months to 9 months, where it's been in the negatives or close to negative. And then this week was the first week we saw a big jump up. It was 700 plus actual carriers. And it was kind of interesting to see. In fact, actually, funny enough, I talked to a company. Sorry, Adam, I'm just grabbing the thing. I talked to a company here that they literally just started a trucking company up in Boise, and I said, did you do any research on, you know, coming into the industry at this moment? And he goes, you know, I was kind of forced into starting my own company. He goes, I didn't like my boss anymore. And I'm like, okay, you know, I mean, I'm sure there's other bosses, you know, and I was like, how, you know, do you have any clients? And he goes, not yet. And I'm like, all right, so you got $150,000 in payments, you know, in a truck and a trailer and some insurance. And
it's a tough time to be starting an authority. I'll tell you that. I wouldn't be bold enough to try it if I wasn't already in it.
Either. Adam, I'm going to just share my screen real quick, if you don't mind. I'll show you this real quick.
Hey, if you guys don't mind, I'm simulcasting this to my channel. We're live on your channel, but if you wouldn't mind, just take a second and talk to my audience and tell them who you are and what you do, and you know, a little bit about your eCarrierCheck platform when you're ready.
Yeah.
So this is it. This is it. So everybody watch.
Yeah, this is as of 10/6. So I mean, we just update this weekly, and it pops in. So there were 707 new authorities last week. And we take out the negatives and positives and then add it up in the end and just keep our accounting very simple, what goes in and out. And it's like I said, normally this number is a negative. In the last 9 months, we always see 0 to, I mean, the biggest I ever saw, there was 1,400 carriers that went out in 1 week. But
can I find, I got my eCarrierCheck page open here. Can I see that number, or can only you see that?
Yeah, this is just down on the dashboard. All you have to do is scroll down on the dashboard. We actually show 2 things. We show carrier authority, and then we show current fuel. And so then you can see fuel averages across the country and whether they're going up or down. I always feel bad for the people in California because of the amount of craziness that they have to pay. But
I see that. And then I scroll down, but I don't. Oh, yeah. I got to go sideways?
And then just click sideways on there.
Oh, see, technologically challenged. So that's a positive change of 707. That's a
game. Just watch this every Monday. This is really interesting. Just watch it every Monday. You'll see a new number. And it's just something for me to kind of go, okay, where's this week, or where are we at as a company? Have we gotten to the bottom yet? Is there still too much bloat within trucks and brokers? Obviously, we're still seeing brokers go out as well. We just don't have that number up like this. So, to give you a quick rundown or just a 30-second elevator, we're the best, in my opinion, the best sourcing platform you can find on the market. If you live and die on load boards, it's definitely one of those things that it's potentially destroying or potentially eating away at relationships you could be building with either direct brokers instead of load board brokers, right? Direct brokers, or direct carriers if you're a broker, right? And here's what happened with me, and here's the scar I had, is I got so dependent on load boards, and this is prior to pandemics and double brokering and all this crazy stuff. I got so dependent on load boards, it just was easy. And I remember one of the load boards shut down. I'm not going to name any names. They lost service over the holidays, and I was delivering a bunch of holiday freight, and I needed trucks. And so I said, never again. I'm never doing this again. So we went out and built probably one of the most unique classifiers out there. So if you're looking for hazmat tanker trucks, or you're looking for friggin' 53-foot flatbeds, or you're looking for stretch RGNs, anything that's obscure, we can find it for you because of how we built our classifier within our system. So that's probably the most unique aspect of it. The other side of this too is that we also show shippers on our platform. And so we can help you with identifying shippers that make sense for you as a carrier, or if you're a broker and you live and die in a specific niche, we can help you with that as well. So I don't want to do too much of an ad. We really try to provide more value. But that's essentially what eCarrierCheck does. Hit us up, eCarrierCheck.com. We can give you a demo or try to help you with your business too. We do a lot more value add stuff with people. So
yeah, your website's a great resource. But let me ask you this: 707 new carriers this week or last week, whichever.
Yep.
What would be your best advice to them to make it in this market?
Anybody. That's fair. Whether you're a new broker or a new carrier coming in, and if you're coming into this market, somebody said there earlier, and I thought this was an interesting quote. Just said, where's he at? Boy, you bring the house at him. There's so many comments. It said something about, people grow during tough times. I think this is if you can control your costs and know what your costs are, and you're aggressive, I honestly think this is a great friggin' time to get going. And the only reason why I say that is, but you have to be aggressive, but you got to know those costs. And so if you're a carrier, boy, you better know what the hell it takes to run that truck down the road. You know what I mean? And really be good at negotiating. Now, this guy, here's something that sometimes we're geographically challenged. You ever felt like that as a carrier?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're never A, in the right spot, or B, there's no freight that's coming out of your area that's decent. And so, this guy was up in Boise, and I was like, all right, so what are you going to do for a living? Now, he was a good dude, but he was like, yeah, I'm going to haul lumber. I got a buddy over at the lumber yard. And I'm like, okay, is it paying okay? Do you know your costs? Are you, do you have a little bit of bank so that you can continue to operate and have operating costs? So you're not getting to a fuel station going, man, I need to put $1,300 in this fuel. And he said he was taking a load down to California, when I thought this was probably even more interesting. I said, well, have you factored in that it's $5 a gallon down there? And he goes, well, it's not $5. I'm like, okay, it's 4.5, whatever it is. Have you factored that in? Because you're going to have to fuel on the way back,
Yep.
And so from a carrier standpoint, if you can be aggressively always looking at new relationships and taking time for those new relationships, whether that's brokers or whether that's direct shippers, I think that's probably the first and foremost. So what do you think, Nate?
I want to see what Chris had to say here. Hard times are great to clean out the riffraff. Those businesses that make it through this market to the other end will see a windfall of success. Yeah, I agree.
So
I love that slide. If you watch.
Yeah.
I love a great cliche, and I heard one yesterday that I'm like, why have I never heard this before? Number one, and why didn't I think of this? Because if you're talking about how to be successful and all that, the first thing that comes to mind for me after going through the kind of the evolution I have over the last couple of years is, what have you done for self-improvement? Okay, you know your costs, negotiate, develop relationships. But if you put yourself mentally in a position to do that, have you worked on yourself? Have you gotten some coaching and some training and education to learn how to calculate these numbers, to learn how to negotiate, to learn how to build relationships? Have you maybe read a psychology book or talked to somebody with some of that insight to learn how to build a relationship? So these are the things I think we're really missing.
Yeah.
Is that kind of stuff, because as truck drivers, you're busy, you're driving, you're dealing with so many different things. Like, you lose time for all these other things of what it really takes to build a bigger or successful business. And have you had these moments of self-realization where you say, what are my weaknesses? What skills do I need to develop? And then how can I do that? And somebody said yesterday, I can't remember where, they said, don't worry about what people say behind your back. There's a reason that they're behind you. That they're behind you for a reason. Leave them back there. Leave them in the dust and just plow forward with what you want to do. Decide it is what it is that you do and the things you do well, and just plow on through it. Forget about like the political stuff, all that. That's all noise, right? You got to learn to block stuff out and just keep going. You're going to have hard financial times. You're going to go through a lot of struggles. Everybody does. It's just who's the ones that keep going.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. Nate and I just listened to a guy this week, and he was talking about, being prepared for the moment. And it was so interesting. He was talking about, if you have taken the time to become prepared and have taken the time to build what you're talking about, that emotional soft skills, the emotional regulation, the psychology of dealing with humans and all those things. He said, if you're not ready for that moment, it's going to look like chaos. But when you are becoming ready for that moment, it's going to look like an opportunity. Yeah. And so, from that standpoint, it's like, are you ready for the opportunity? Have you done what it's taken to get you to that level so that you know what your ceiling is and how to break through your own ceiling, right?
And there's so many things that go along with that. And there's some of those things that I had to learn. And I was on I did a live stream last night with a driver. He's leased on to me, for everybody knows, whatever. And we're talking about these things and kind of his evolution in this business, because he's been one of the most successful people I've been around as far as becoming an owner operator and starting where he was and to where he is now. And I was trying to pry it out of him what his evolution was, because he comes from a sales world. He sold cars, but freight is different. You're not a bunch of one-offs. You're trying to do a lot of transactions, right? And trying to lead him down this path of what he's doing but doesn't realize, and why people repeatedly call us for the same loads. And what I was trying to get to is you got to learn to be easy to do business with. So you'll become somebody's first phone call when they realize, well, Bob already knows the deal on this load. I'm going to call him and I'm going to ask him if he wants this load. and he's going to tell me yes or no. He's not going to say, well, how much? When's it? No, I really don't like those appointment times. How much does it weigh? What's the temperature? He's going to say, Bob, I got that load, same one from last week. Yeah, we want it. Click. Okay. And then guess what? Bob is the carrier. He's going to go work all that stuff out. You're going to take his, the broker's, my guy's problems that called me. You're going to take his problems away from him, and I'm going to take on his problems. I'm going to work it out, do the load. And he's never beaten me up. We have a rough idea of what the rates are depending on the drops, and I'm not going to beat him up. He's not going to beat me up. And every time he gets that load, I'm his first call because we're easy to do business with. You have to learn to be easy to do business with, not a pain in the ass about everything.
Yeah.
And it can take a while to learn that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what a lot of people with one truck, maybe I don't want to say understand, but you have to go through an experience to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you're teaching him to be a Mack salesman. Yeah. We're talking about the new Mack trucks last night. I gotta get a commission off that somehow.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean,
and it's the same with a shipper. Like if you guys are calling a shipper to get freight, and they're giving you loads, and you're constantly calling them with an issue because you didn't build in into the price this or that or the other thing, and you got to call them every single time, they're going to tire of that.
Yeah.
Right. And when somebody else is prospecting them and cold calls them, they're going to say, well, maybe I do want somebody else because this guy's just a real pain in the ass to deal with.
Yeah.
Even though his rate is good and the service is good, there's other things, and being a pain in the ass is one of those things.
Yeah, I always told the guys, give them a solution, no matter the cause. And even if it's not exactly what they want, make it easy to work with you. Hey, we can't pick up today, but guess what? We can't pick up Thursday. We deliver Monday still. It's just going to be one of those things that, give them a solution.
Yeah, because they're going to say, well, this guy has all these other, he doesn't have a truck today, but he's got one Friday, Monday, Tuesday, next Thursday, and next Friday. So he can handle the freight. He just doesn't have a truck today.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, you're only as good as the questions you ask, right? And so if you don't ask that question, you don't know if it's not that hot,
Right.
Or can it go an extra day? Sometimes it can, sometimes it can't, but sometimes it can. So you might as well ask that question and be that guy that's easy, that's frictionless, has the ability to kind of smooth his way through. I love it.
One thing they say about me downtown is, hey, that guy's easy.
I'm not going to comment.
Oh my goodness. DIY, you say that now is not the time to make changes like your address, phone number, emails on FMCSA. What about adding something like hazmat?
I think hazmat would probably be fine. What you're not looking to change is your address, phone number, email, maybe that person of contact, unless it has to be because they're no longer with the company. Yeah. There are some brokers out there that if they see you change something on your MCS 150, that they start you over as a new carrier because they think it's fraud. And that's one of the first ways the fraud happens. They will hack your FMCSA, update your MCS 150, change it to their information, and they're off to the races. Mm-hmm. So I can't blame them. I think it kind of sucks. I think the government should do something. That's their website. They mandate it. They should step in and provide that solution. Yeah. Maybe they vet it, verify it a little bit better. Maybe you get a check mark that, hey, we've verified this guy is at this address with this phone number and this email. I don't know. But if they're mandating we do it by law, then they should step in and help out with that.
It's funny you say that, make it easy to work with. I used to do a weird amount of power only. And cheap freight hauler, this is kind of for you for the sake of it. But I used to do a weird amount of power only. And the company would call me and they'd say, well, hey, I need a panel hitch with air brakes. And I'm like, okay. And then the next week they'd call and go, well, I need a 2 5/16 ball. I'm like, all right. And they would every week they would any kind of frigging, it didn't matter. They would send the house to me with the damnedest friggin' types of trailers that needed to be hauled. And I loved every second of it. And what was beautiful is I had this guy that I could call. He had them all. He had panel hitches. He had all this stuff. And I think, when it comes to, why not being a little bit different? I know your insurance is a little bit different with hazmat, but getting your tanker endorsement, getting your friggin', getting your, your hazmat there, it's just going to take you up a notch to try to get another 25 cents to 50 cents to 30 cents to $1 a mile for 2025. You know what I mean? And everyone at the end of this year is going to look back and go, God, this is what I got paid all year long. I got paid $2.65 a mile. I ran 2.3 million miles. Wow. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, what if I'd have gotten 10 more cents?
Yeah. So you had a guy that you could call on that had all these things, right?
All of them.
Everybody needs a guy. Like,
yeah,
I need a guy I can call on anytime I need something fixed on a trailer or whatever. I have several guys that are my guy, right? And then in turn, you need to be somebody else's guy. Like, there's a couple people that we know that, hey, we're their guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs a guy, but you also need to be somebody else's guy for whatever they need. That's a great problem to have, great place to be in.
And the only way you're going to get that guy is have a moment every week where you try to build new relationships. In my personal opinion, I met a guy this week. I love this guy. He literally runs a freight brokerage and has never had the load boards in his life.
Wow.
Ever. And I'm like, how big are you? And he's like, we do like 6 million a year. I got a couple guys and we just kind of enjoy life. And I'm like, this guy knows he has his own guys. He has a good broker group. He's got his good carrier mix, and he just knows the lane. And I'm like, but I'm always looking to build new carrier relationships. I'm always looking for those guys that can make things a little bit easier for me. And and it's just you have to take a lot of time and be very intentional. Relationship management is so big. It really is. It's everything, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's something to be said with just having, like you guys kept saying, like having a conversation, asking better questions.
Mm-hmm.
When you're on the phone with someone, whether it's a shipper or a carrier, I think you got to make it about them. What are the challenges? We all have challenges. How come our challenges come together and let's overcome, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's about having that right, just better questions.
I agree. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Adam, I always appreciate you being on.
I love doing this. I love meeting with you guys.
One of my favorites. Hook me up with 265 a mile loads. Get that hazmat, you can start getting those loads.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, I love it. But I'm sure it'll change your cost per mile because your insurance will be a little more and things like that. But make sure you get your tanker too, because everything I did in hazmat was always totes of friggin' corrosive, like hoof wart removal, and I used to do some weird hazmat stuff. But make sure you're hitting that. I think they go hand in hand, in my opinion. It's like lamb and tuna fish.
Has everybody gone out and gotten this book, Selling Inspired by Nick Klingensmith?
We got a copy, and this is an incredible book. If you haven't, just take 20 minutes and read that front page or front 2 chapters. Great book.
Yeah.
Really.
This guy's life story is, if you're not inspired by it, you never will be inspired by anything. But I just can't get enough of that guy.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great book, and what he put together, it's amazing, man. And the amount of content he brings to the LinkedIn community and Facebook and all that stuff. He's out. He's definitely a true motivator. I tell you what, man.
I agree.
He's crazy.
I agree. Well, Adam, we appreciate you being on. I hope you have an incredible Friday for your show. For those people that are watching, you guys are rock stars. Keep pushing. Keep doing what you got to do. Keep working on yourself. It was awesome to have you on today. And
everybody subscribe to eCarrierCheck's channel too while you're here.
Please. Yeah, we're excited. I think we hit 5,500 subscribers a month ago or so. And
awesome.
We're just trying to put out value for people so they can keep growing themselves. So.
You're doing it. Definitely doing it.